So I have not been able to find anything from Wave 2 of 86 or Wave 4 of Kingdom. Hell, the only Kingdom Wave 3 figures I'd ever seen in stores are Soundwave, Dracodon, Rhinox, and Wheeljack, and those last three are for very good reasons. So I would like to give a big thank you to Isaiah DeJones over on Instagram for locating and picking up the 86 Sharkticon for me. This video would not have been possible without his help. Why don't you all go give him a look-see for being such a cool dude? But now, let's talk about the Sharkticon he got me. And no, I will not call him Gnaw. Okay, first up, like I said in the video where I was looking at the reveal of his figure, yes, this is not a parts former. Well, it is, but the shark head is not part of that. Like I hypothesized, the shark head was just removed in the packaging for some reason. It's not to make it fit, because it would have fit just fine on its own, so I'm not sure what they were doing. But it attaches easily and securely through this T-bar on the back, and I have no worries that that's going to break off anytime soon. The only thing I really don't like about this whole assembly is that the back fin is also a separate piece, and it's relatively loose, feeling like it constantly wants to fall off. But with that out of the way, looking at the robot mode, and it's really good. Just a glorious little Danny DeVito in purple leggings and Uggs. I just said that as a joke, but now I can't unsee that and it hurts me. This feels insanely accurate, while still managing to get just about every detail wrong. To be fair, we only ever saw this guy in this mode for a brief few seconds in the original movie, but for even that, this is incredibly off-model. Collar's supposed to be this triangular cut purple thing, these collar spikes are supposed to be very different in shape, the teeth are also supposed to end up nothing like this, arms are a hugely different shape, and yet somehow this feels accurate beyond reason. Like on a conscious level, if I really think about it, I know this is wrong, but it still looks right. Even knowing that it's not, it still looks right. That could be a product of the fact that we barely ever see these guys, so it's not as heavily ingrained in my mind as to what they're supposed to look like as normal, or it could be that this just manages to capture the spirit so well that it doesn't matter. But yeah, this feels like the Sharkticon if nothing else. And in general, I think this looks good. Which is funny because I think just about every aspect of this guy is kind of an ugly decision. Little egg-shaped body with colors to match, blue Uggs, gorilla long arms, in-the-way wrist spikes, weird legs, extra skinny arms hanging off the backpack, giant gaps in the wrists. I mean, this is a goofy looking boy. Also, it's really annoying how his jaw just doesn't peg in at all, so it just never holds still. From behind though, he's nice and clean. If it weren't for these minor holes here and the gaps in the wrists, this guy wouldn't really have any hollowness whatsoever. Anyways, I think the wonky body just works here. Am I crazy? Feels right. Feels like the character. Just about the only thing I actively don't like are how short his boots are, but I get why they're like that, and I can't argue with the accuracy of them. I do really appreciate that we have a character here who was not given a cool body type. Though, the fact that this is supposed to be some kind of terrifying engine of destruction doesn't quite jive with the dumpy physique they gave him. But it looks like him. Even if the details are technically wrong, they still feel right. It's also quite quality. I should point that out since I haven't already. Like, there's a lot of paint here. Basically, the whole torso and back, plus a few accents, got slathered in the stuff, and the materials used here feel nice as well. But like the rest of 86, he is missing really any blast effect pegs or siege ports, really only having these two at the bottoms of his toes seemingly for the transformation. So you can't even use them to give him rocket boots since the flames come out of such a weird place. So the body captures the spirit of the character, the head does not. The 86 curse of incredibly strange head sculpt strikes once again, this time with some of the most baffling decisions yet. I mean, aside from the fact that this looks really nothing like the Sharkticons from any media I know of, it feels kind of weirdly Power Rangers-esque. And those eyes. I really don't know what they were going for. Were they trying to go for haunting or something? They are super deeply inset into the head, to the point where the face almost comes across like a mask. It's a very bizarre choice. From a lot of angles, they just appear black, but if you catch them in the light, you can see they're painted yellow on the inside. This is one of the most bizarre decisions I've seen in a long time. He comes with 3 accessories. One's his fin. He can't really hold it effectively because of the wrist spikes, so I don't know if this is supposed to be a weapon or not, but maybe you could give this to someone else. He comes with a weirdly badass, and also weirdly not at all, gun. This really looks like a toy gun from G1 that's just been scaled up. At the same time, it's a nice and meaty sci-fi blaster. And once again, this stupid line refuses to give the gun a blast effect port or peg in the barrel. But they did give it one on the side of the magazine, so I guess if you want the gun to have a catastrophic malfunction, you can do that. And you get his tail mace. I assume so you can give it to Cup. It only hinges in one location, so it's a little limited, but the sculpt is actually super helpful in that regard. There's just something dynamic about the way it's curved, so it feels like it's being swung or striking something. So for accessories, he's doing pretty good. Now I want you to look at this guy. You see him? How well do you think he poses? Pretty fucking bad, right? Thing is, this guy's actually kind of great on that front. It's missing a few weird things, but what's there is usually well beyond the norm. Above average head with not a lot of side to side, but tons down, shoulders pull a smidge over a 90, with elbows that pull way more than a 90, no wrists and no waist, so that's abnormal, and you might even think his hips are horribly limited, but they pull a 90 forward, slightly less back, and out to the side seems terrible, but you can force that for a full 90 as well. And if you don't like doing that, you can sheet it. His knee only pulls like a 90 on its own, but then he's got like these extra shin joints for maximum bendage. Also, his knees are designed to break really badly too. And this figure has quite possibly the ugliest ankle tilt I've ever seen. It does have a pretty extreme range though, and he has some heel down. So posing is, like I said, weirdly good. Transformation on this might seem from a distance like it's kind of going to suck, but I do have to say I was actually really impressed with the process the first time I went through it. There's a lot more happening here than you'd initially think. This shares a fair bit in common with the Titans Return Trigger Happy, a figure that deserves to be way more influential than it is, and you might not realize it to look at this since the two are so different in appearance. And there's an instance of parts forming with the tail, but you can keep the fin on the whole time, and the good news is that it does not look incomplete without the tail. So if you lose that part, it's not the end of the world. You can attach the gun to the side of the shark mode as well through this port on the side, but I don't know why these aren't mirrored. If you get more than one of these like you are supposed to, you could have had one of these going around with a dual pair of cannons on his back. But alas, that's not possible because of this boneheaded decision. The biggest bummer of the whole thing has to be what happens with the head though, because it basically does nothing. It could have really stood to fold in half or something so it hit away better, but the end result is easily the best Sharkticon anyone's ever made. And here we have the mode that probably most people are going to treat as the main one. It's for sure not seamless. This is not one of those figures that you can look at and not realize it transforms till it does, but it's all still very cohesive. Easily, the worst part of the whole thing is the head is just bowed inside the mouth, and the fact that the lower jaw is completely hollow. This just distresses me, it looks unfinished. This thing is balanced in a weird way, so it's nice that it's actually pretty easy to keep this thing standing. Though when you move him, the legs do like to collapse since the joints are only barely strong enough. The good news is that this man's actually has an ass. I was very worried based on the official product photography that the backside of this thing was basically going to turn into an undisguised bracket. But no, this is plenty nicely detailed. I really like the dead soulless pea eyes. I feel like I could just pop them out and put them in a soup where they belong. And it's nice that they are a unique paint used nowhere else. This thing is draped in surface detailing that makes it look super cool, and I really don't have enough nice things to say about this mode. The back panel can pop open when you aren't being careful, but outside that, my issues with this mode have really all been already listed. The posing on this is much less than before. Kind of obvious considering the legs are just flat out gone. The arms have become the legs, so they basically have all the same articulation, though you can't really use some of it due to the way the figure now balances. The new Shark Mode arms are just on two flat pins, with the bicep being able to pull a full 360 and the elbows getting a serious bend going. Though it's not like this can hold anything in its weird, crappy alien hands. Upper and lower jaws can open, though it's clear that he doesn't have a throat, so doing both can limit the effectiveness of the look. Lastly, the fin and tail can both spin, while the tail also gets some waggle. This isn't exactly the most articulated beast mode ever, but it's miles off from being a brick, so this is nice. It could be better, but it's still good. So I'm gonna call this Shark Mode a win too. I think I was probably underselling this figure the whole video through. This is an excellent purchase. I think this is one of the rare instances where we've gotten a troop builder on our hands that's worth troop building with, even though it doesn't even change color between copies. Like, everyone wants a bunch of Seekers, but those are all different colors and characters. This is like the Reflector or the Sweeps, a faceless horde who you can buy endless duplicates of and not feel bad about. Except I think for Reflector you need 3 and only 3, and for the Sweeps you are probably just fine getting Scourge. Though, if you are a really big fan of the movie and what came after, you can probably pull 3 Sweeps. But this you could buy like 10 of and still feel like you don't have enough. Yes, that would be expensive, but this is actually good enough to justify that a bit. It's not the best figure in the 86 line by any means, but this is actually a surprising banger. I was not expecting to like this as much as I do. It's fun, it fills a hole, and it styles on the Earthrise Alicon. Like, real talk, this really goes to show just how bad that figure was. More posable, more accurate, massively better transformation, better alt mode, no heinous kibble, beast mode has more posability too, more paint, it's just better in every single way. This will go down as a figure people were happy to buy. That will go down as a figure that was people's only option. If you find one of these, I say grab it. Hell, even if you are exclusively an MP collector, I think this would fit your collection. And I mean, what are your other options? But this is still just that good. Boy, Hasbro better print enough of these since people will want to buy a ton. And that's not half what I have to say, but it's enough what I have to say. And I know, you know, what everyone else tells you to do at the end of these videos. So, if you liked what you saw here, please do that. And if you'd like to take it a step further, then please, share this video with any friend you think may be interested. I hope you all enjoyed listening to me waste your time.